The trial begins. The sound of metal echoed around him. Captain Ryan Stone opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt and everything felt blurry. Bright blue lights glowed from the walls. He was inside some kind of prison, but it didn't look like any human place. The walls were smooth and curved, with symbols floating in the air. The air smelled strange, like sweet flowers and fire. Ryan tried to move, but his wrists were locked in glowing cuffs. "Where am I?" He whispered. He remembered the battle. Flames, soldiers, alien ships. Then something hit him hard, and everything went dark. Now he was here. A soft humming sound came, and the wall in front of him opened. Two tall female aliens entered. Their skin was silver blue, their eyes large and glowing. They wore long robes and golden armor on their shoulders. One of them carried a long staff that pulsed with energy. Ryan stood up slowly. His legs felt weak. "Captain Ryan Stone," the taller alien said. Her voice was calm but powerful. "You are now under judgment by the High Matriarch Tribunal of the Zethari Empire." Ryan blinked. Judgment? For what? The alien didn't answer. Instead, they turned and walked out. His cuffs unlocked with a click. Ryan followed, unsure what else to do. The hallway outside was full of light and soft humming sounds. The floor felt warm under his boots. He passed other cells. Some were empty. Some held strange alien men, some human, some not. Most looked broken, tired eyes, silent faces. They entered a large room with a high domed ceiling. Thousands of glowing symbols floated in the air. At the center was a round platform. Sitting on tall thrones were 5 female aliens, all wearing heavy crowns. These were the matriarchs. Ryan was pushed to the center of the circle. A voice echoed through the room, strong and cold. "Human soldier, you have attacked Zethari warriors. You are responsible for their deaths." Ryan raised his hands. "Wait, it was war. Your ships attacked first. We were defending our base." Another matriarch spoke. Her tone was sharp. "There are rules of war. You broke them. Now you must face the consequence." Ryan stepped back. "What consequence?" The tallest matriarch stood. Her eyes were gold, and her crown glowed. "You are sentenced," she said, "to the ritual of mating. You will serve in our sacred program, or you will die." Ryan froze. "Mating? What does that even mean?" The room became silent. Then a slow drumbeat began to play in the background. The floor shifted beneath him, and he dropped down through a hidden platform. Darkness. When he landed, he was in another chamber. This room had soft purple lights and a warm, sweet scent in the air. A single figure waited for him. She was tall, with deep violet hair and glowing eyes. Her body was covered in light armor, but her presence felt powerful, like a queen or warrior. "I am Valana," she said, "High Priestess of the Zethari." Ryan looked around, confused and angry. "What is this place? What do you want from me?" Valana walked closer. "You are not being punished. You are being selected. The Zethari race needs strong males. For generations, we have grown weaker. The war cost us many warriors. Now only the sacred ritual can keep our line strong." Ryan laughed once, bitterly. "You capture me, judge me without trial, and now you want to use me?" Valana's face was unreadable. "The ritual is not forced. You can refuse, but the price is death." Ryan turned away, trying to stay calm. Everything inside him screamed. To escape, to fight, to run. But he had no weapons, no help, no choice. "And if I accept?" he asked finally. Valana stepped beside him. "Then you will begin the ritual of selection. You will be tested, observed, and chosen if you survive." Suddenly, a crystal wall lit up. On the other side, he saw female warriors watching him, tall, strong, silent. Their eyes studied him like he was a prize animal. One of them pointed at him. Vellana said, "You are now part of the trial of life, and the trials begin now." Captain Ryan Stone sat on the cold crystal floor, staring at his reflection in the smooth surface. He was still trying to understand what had just happened. One moment, he was a soldier defending Earth's last base in the outer colonies. The next, he was a prisoner of an alien empire, sentenced to take part in a mating ritual by a race of powerful warrior females. It sounded like a joke. But no one here was laughing. The chamber door slid open with a soft hum, and Vellana, the Zethari High Priestess, entered again. She was calm, graceful, and cold as ice. In her hands, she held a glowing tablet covered with alien script. Ryan didn't speak, but his eyes followed her every move. She looked at him and said, "The tribunal has confirmed your sentence. You will take part in the ritual of selection. The first trial begins tonight." Ryan stood up, tension building in his chest. "Why me? You have your own people. Why use a human?" Vellana walked slowly around him. "Because your species is strong. Because your bloodline survived war, poison, hunger, and death. The Zethari need strength to survive. But, more than that, you are compatible. Biologically and emotionally." Ryan clenched his fists. "I'm not a test subject." "No," Vellana said. "You are a potential mate." The words hit harder than any bullet. Before he could speak again, 2 guards entered. This time, they were not dressed in armor. Instead, they wore ceremonial robes with glowing blue lines across their bodies. They placed a silver collar around Ryan's neck. It didn't hurt, but it pulsed softly like a heartbeat. He was led through a long corridor filled with glowing roots and alien plants. The air smelled like smoke and flowers. On the walls were paintings of past rituals, males kneeling, females standing above them like queens. Some images showed beauty. Others looked more like war. They entered a circular arena made of white stone. At the center stood a single figure. She was unlike the others. Taller than any woman he'd ever seen, her body was built like a weapon. Her long black hair moved slightly in the wind, and her armor shimmered with the colors of fire. Her face was hard, her eyes burning with hatred. Vellana spoke from behind him. "This is Commander Arya. She lost her sister in the battle your people started. She is your first test." Ryan stepped forward slowly, cautious. Arya didn't wait. She walked straight up to him and stared into his eyes. "You're the reason my sister is dead," she said coldly. "Why should I not crush you right now?" Ryan didn't blink. "I didn't kill her. War did. Just like it killed my best friend and hundreds of my people." For a moment, they stood in silence, locked in that pain. Then Arya turned away. "You think words will earn you honor? We don't care about your grief. If you are weak, you die. If you are strong, you prove it, not with your mouth, but with your spirit." She threw a short blade at his feet. "Fight me, not to win. Fight to be seen." Ryan picked up the blade, feeling its strange weight in his hand. He wasn't a gladiator. He was a soldier. He wasn't trained for ritual combat. But he stepped forward. The duel was fast, brutal, and confusing. Arya moved like lightning. Ryan used instinct and desperation. She struck him across the chest, knocking him back. But he stood up again. She hit him harder. He fell to one knee. Blood trickled from his lip. Still he rose. He didn't try to beat her. He tried to endure her. When it ended, Arya stood over him, breathing heavy. She looked down, then dropped her blade beside him. "You didn't cry. You didn't beg. You took the pain. That is the first step." Vellana stepped forward, placing her hand on Ryan's shoulder. "The ritual of selection has begun. Commander Arya has marked you as worthy." Ryan coughed, wiped the blood from his mouth. What's next? Valana gave a faint smile. The first he'd seen. Now comes the trial of bonding. You will enter the dream chambers where your mind and hers will be joined. If your hearts reject each other, both may die. Ryan leaned back against the wall, feeling the heat of the bee. Alien lights on his skin. He had survived the physical test. But now he would have to face something even more dangerous. An emotional connection with a powerful alien who hated his kind. He closed his eyes for a moment, wondering how far this strange journey would go. In the darkness, a whisper reached his ears, a voice, not Valana's, not Arya's. You are not the first, and you are not alone. Ryan's eyes snapped open. The chamber was silent, but Captain Ryan Stone's heart was not. He stood inside the dream chamber, a circular room filled with soft glowing mist. It felt alive, like the walls were breathing. Strange crystals hung from the ceiling, each one humming quietly as if they were waiting for something. Or someone. Ryan was alone. At least for now. Valana's words echoed in his mind. Your mind and hers will be joined. If either rejects the other, the chamber will destroy the bond and possibly you. He didn't know what to expect. Nothing. In military training had prepared him for this. The floor beneath him lit up, and a soft wind moved through the chamber, though there were no windows. From the mist, a figure began to take shape. Tall, graceful, powerful. It was Commander Arya. She looked different now. Her armor was gone, replaced by a long silk robe that shimmered like moonlight. Her hair floated around her head like smoke. Her expression, for once, was not filled with hate, but caution. She walked slowly toward him, eyes focused. This is not battle, she said. This is connection. Ryan nodded. Then we're both at a disadvantage. She almost smiled. Almost. The walls began to pulse softly, and the crystals started to glow brighter. Valana's voice came from somewhere unseen. The trial of bonding begins now. Minds will open. Truths will rise. There is no hiding in the inner space. Ryan and Arya stood still. Suddenly, a wave of light passed through the room, and then darkness. But they didn't faint. Their bodies remained standing. Their minds had entered the ritual. Ryan found himself in a strange version of Earth. The sky was purple, the ground soft like clouds. He stood in a field of burning grass, yet it didn't hurt. Beside him, Arya appeared. But she was younger and scared. He looked down and realized he was inside her memory. A small version of Arya, maybe 10 years old, ran across the field, calling out to someone. Ryan turned and saw a teenage girl, her sister. The two played, laughed, trained with wooden staffs. Then the memory shifted. The air turned red, and fire rained from the sky. Human ships attacked. Screams filled the air. The older sister was hit by falling debris. Ryan watched as young Arya held her sister's body, screaming in pain. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. But he felt it, her grief, her loss, her anger. And now he understood why she hated him. The memory shattered, and Ryan fell into a dark tunnel. Then, light. Now Arya stood inside his memory. She saw a young Ryan saying goodbye to his family. Before boarding a transport ship to join Earth's Defense Force, she watched him train, struggle, fight. She saw him pull his best friend Tom out of a burning tank, only to lose him in an explosion seconds later. Then came the battle with Bezithari. Arya watched Ryan hesitate before giving the command to fire because there were civilians nearby. But he gave it anyway, thinking it was the only way to protect his people. She saw his regret, his guilt, and she felt his pain. Back in the chamber. Their bodies stood still, but their minds were changing. Arya opened her eyes first. She looked at Ryan, her face soft for the first time. I saw your fear, she said quietly. And your courage, Ryan blinked. I saw your sister. I'm sorry. There was a long silence. Then Arya walked toward him. Pain can blind us, but now I see. The crystals glowed brighter and a soft wind swirled around them. There. Hands touched. A warm light filled the room. The bond had been made. Velana's voice returned, gentle and almost proud. The ritual is complete. The connection is strong. The trial is past. Ryan let out a long breath. He didn't know what had happened fully, but something deep inside him had shifted. Arya turned to him, her voice low. You're not like the others. You don't hide behind armor. Ryan shrugged. You hit me hard enough to break it. This time she smiled. But before they could speak again, a sharp alarm rang through the chamber. Red lights flashed. Velana appeared, her calm now replaced with urgency. We have a problem. Another subject has gone missing from the lower rituals. One of the other humans, Ryan stepped forward. Missing? Velana nodded. He escaped, or he was taken. Arya's eyes narrowed. No one escapes the trial chambers. Ryan looked at her, a thought forming in his mind. Unless someone wants them to. Asterisk. The red lights faded, but tension stayed thick in the air. Captain Ryan Stone stood at the edge of the dream chamber, watching Velana speak quickly into a glowing device. Alien words flowed from her lips, sharp and clipped. Arya stood beside him, one hand resting near her hip where a weapon used to be. Even without armor, she looked ready to fight. Ryan stepped forward. Who is the missing human? Velana turned. Subject 47. Name, Darius Holt. Former Earth soldier, captured 2 months before you. Ryan's stomach tightened. He had heard that name before, back on the ship, just before the battle. Darius had gone missing during a scouting mission. No one ever found his body. Arya crossed her arms. What was he doing in the ritual chambers? Velana paused before answering. He failed the first trial. Instead of bonding, he resisted. Fought the process. The tribunal marked him as unstable and isolated him. Ryan frowned. And now he's gone, Velana nodded. Or someone helped him vanish. The room went quiet. Something was wrong. Ryan could feel it. The rituals may have looked peaceful on the surface, but under the silence, something dark was moving. And if Darius had escaped, he may have learned something he wasn't supposed to. Later, Ryan and Arya were taken to a private chamber, a place used only for bonded trial pairs. The walls here glowed with soft orange light, and the air smelled like spice and ash. Arya moved slowly, her shoulders tense. You're thinking about the missing soldier, she said. Ryan nodded. Something about this whole process feels off. Arya tilted her head. You passed the trial. Why still question it? Ryan looked at her, his voice quiet. Because rituals don't erase secrets. They just hide them under beauty. She didn't answer. Instead, she sat beside a pool of glowing liquid at the center of the room. The Zethari once believed our emotions were weapons, she said. Now, they call it bonding. But sometimes, a weapon is still a weapon, no matter what you name it. Ryan joined her. Why are you helping me, after everything? Arya stared into the pool. Because I felt your truth, and I'm starting to question mine. Silence sat between them like a third presence. Then Arya whispered, My sister volunteered. For the ritual before the war. She was chosen to bond with a male from another world, not human. But something went wrong. She died before the process finished. Ryan's eyes widened. They told you we killed her in battle. Arya nodded. Slowly. That's what I believed, until I saw your memories. Ryan leaned closer. Then maybe Darius found proof. Maybe that's why he ran. Arya stood quickly. If he's out there, the tribunal won't let him live long. We have to find him." Ryan followed her, heart pounding. "Then let's go before they notice we're gone too." They moved through the temple at night. It was easier than Ryan expected. The guards didn't question Arya. She was still a respected commander, even if her role had changed. She told them they were going for night meditation, and no one stopped them. But instead of heading upward, they went down, deep into the lower chambers of the temple, where no trial pairs were allowed. The air grew heavy. The lights dimmed. Ryan whispered, "Where are we going?" Arya's voice was low. "The Flame Core. It's where failed bonds are studied or erased." He didn't like the sound of that. The path opened into a massive underground hall. Machines hummed. Tanks of glowing liquid lined the walls. Inside them floated bodies, male figures, some human, some not. All unconscious. All still alive. Ryan stepped back. "What is this?" Velana's voice came from behind them. "This is the true purpose of the ritual." They turned. Velana stood in the shadows, her face unreadable. Ryan pointed at the tanks. "This isn't bonding. This is harvesting." Velana nodded once. "The Zithari are dying. Our female line is strong, but we can no longer produce life. The ritual is the only way." Arya stepped between Velana and Ryan. "You lied to us." Velana's voice didn't rise. "I gave you peace. I gave you purpose. Would you rather have been destroyed in war?" Ryan felt rage build in his chest. "You're not saving life. You're stealing it." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the far wall. A tank had broken. A figure stumbled out, tall. Wounded, but alive. It was Darius Holt. His eyes met Ryan's, wild and full of warning. "They're using our minds," he shouted. "They don't just bond. They copy us." He fell to the floor. Guards rushed in. Velana raised her hand to stop them. "Take him to the upper chamber, now." Ryan moved to stop them, but Arya held him back. "We can't fight them yet, not here." Ryan watched helplessly as Darius was taken away. Velana turned to them one last time. "You have passed the ritual. Do not throw it away chasing ghosts." Ryan stared at her with fire in his eyes. "You created this bond," he said coldly. "Now live with what comes next." Captain Ryan Stone couldn't sleep that night. The soft blue lights in the bonding chamber pulsed like a heartbeat, but the calm was a lie. His thoughts kept going back to Darius, the broken tank, the warning in his eyes, and those chilling words. "They don't just bond, they copy us." What did that mean? What had the Zithari done to him? Across the room, Arya stood by the glowing wall, arms folded, silent. She hadn't spoken much since Velana took Darius away. She was thinking, too, about her sister, about the lies she once believed, and the truth now cracking through her world. Finally, Ryan stood up. "We have to find him again." Arya turned. "Velana won't allow that. If we push too far, we'll end up in one of those tanks too." Ryan moved closer, voice low. "You felt what I felt. The ritual didn't just open our minds, it woke. US up. We can't ignore this." Arya looked away. "Then we must not act like rebels. We must move like ghosts." At dawn, the temple came alive. Trial pairs walked the crystal halls, meditated near the fire pools, or trained in the quiet gardens. From the outside, it looked peaceful, sacred, controlled. But beneath the beauty, something darker was breathing. Ryan and Arya stayed close. They followed the guards who had taken Darius, memorizing their paths. They watched the priestesses change. Shifts. They waited. Then they saw it, a lower access hatch behind a wall of vines near the Hall of Silence. Only marked priestesses could enter. But Arya had once trained in this section years ago. She still remembered the codes. That night, under the cover of darkness, they slipped inside. The passage was narrow and damp. Ancient lights flickered above them. The air smelled of rust and memory. At the end of the tunnel, they found a door with a symbol Ryan had never seen before. 2 overlapping circles, one glowing, one dim. What is this place? Rand whispered. Arya placed her hand on the panel. It's called the Memory Vault. Only the high circle enters here. The door slid open. Inside was a small room, full of quiet machines and floating orbs of light. In the center was a glass chair, and strapped to it was Darius Holt. His eyes were open, but blank. Ryan rushed forward. Darius. No response. Arya scanned the machines. They've connected him to a dream loop. His mind is trapped in a memory. They're copying his thoughts, his instincts, even his emotions. Ryan stared at the screen. It showed a battlefield. Darius was reliving the same fight over and over. This isn't bonding, Ryan said. It's digital cloning. Suddenly, Darius whispered something. His voice was weak, barely there. Whispers in the dark. Arya leaned closer. What did he say? Darius repeated it, a little louder this time. They hear us when we think too loud. Then a sharp noise echoed from the door. The hallway lights flickered red. Ryan turned. They know we're here. Arya touched the control panel. I can't shut down the system. If I pull him out now, his brain might collapse. Ryan looked at her. Then we don't pull him out. We wake him from the inside. He placed his hand on the interface crystal. The system read his bond status. Accepted. The machine allowed connection. Arya shouted, You don't know what that will do to you. Ryan smiled grimly. Guess. I'll find out. A second later, Ryan's mind dropped into blackness. He landed inside a burning city. Smoke filled the air. Gunfire echoed. And in the middle of it all, Darius knelt, blood on his hands, shaking. Ryan approached slowly. Darius, it's me. Darius. Looked up. You're not real. They sent copies before. Ryan knelt. This isn't them. I'm here to bring you out. Darius's eyes searched his. They're building a library of soldiers, a memory army. One day there won't be any real males left. Just perfect, obedient copies. Ryan clenched his fists. Then we stop. It. He grabbed Darius's hand, and the world around them shattered. Back in the vault. Ryan gasped, pulling away from the machine. Darius blinked, fully awake for the first time. He looked around, eyes filled with horror, but also life. Arya helped them up. We need to leave, now. They escaped through the tunnel just as alarms rang out, but they weren't fast enough. At the tunnel's exit, a group of guards waited, led by Valana. She looked at them, disappointment in her eyes. You saw too much. Ryan stepped in front of Darius. We saw the truth. Valana raised her hand. But before she could give the order, Arya stepped forward. Touch him, and I will tear this empire apart from the inside. Valana paused. For the first time, she looked. Uncertain. Then she lowered her hand. So be it. But know this, you are no longer protected. The trial ends tonight. Ryan looked at Arya. What does that mean? She stared ahead. It means we run, or we fight. The temple no longer felt like a place of peace. Captain Ryan Stone, Arya, and the wounded Darius Holt moved quietly through hidden corridors beneath the Zithari stronghold. With every step, Ryan could feel the pressure building. They had crossed a line, not just disobeyed orders, but uncovered the Zithari's greatest secret. Now they were no longer guests. They were fugitives. Arya led the way. Her movements were silent, sharp, full of purpose. The bond she shared with Ryan had awakened more than emotion. It had shaken her loyalty. For years, she had believed in the system. Now she only believed in the truth. Behind them, Darius limped, his face pale. Though they had freed his mind from the memory loop, his body was weak. He was living proof of what the Zithari had been. Doing, copying minds, draining soldiers, building a library of obedience hidden behind a sacred ritual. They reached a circular chamber, hidden beneath the trial hall. The walls were old, untouched by light or ceremony. Ancient Zithari glyphs covered the stone. In the center stood a large black platform, half buried in dust. Arya stopped. "This is it." Ryan looked around. "What is this place?" She stepped onto the platform. The original Chamber of Union, long before the ritual was changed. This is where the first real bonds were made. Darius coughed. "Then maybe this is where we break the new ones," Ryan nodded. "No more hiding. We need to expose the truth." Arya turned toward a hidden console built into the wall. "These old controls still connect to the temple's core. If we upload what Darius saw, the memory library, the tanks, the dream loops, it will broadcast to every trial chamber." Ryan walked over. "And once they know," she met his eyes, "then the real trial begins." They worked fast. Darius guided them through the memory crystal, syncing his recovered visions to the platform signal. As the images loaded, Ryan saw everything again: the tanks, the screams, the copies, and the way the system erased identity in the name of balance. But just as the upload neared completion, alarms screamed through the floor. "Security! Breach! Unauthorized broadcast detected! Emergency lockdown initiated!" Ryan turned. "They're coming." The wall shook as footsteps echoed from the passage. Lights flashed red. Then the air parted and Vellana entered, followed by armed priestesses. No armor, just power and certainty. She looked at the screen, then at Ryan and Arya. "You would destroy unity for the sake of chaos?" Arya stepped in front of Ryan. "You call it unity. I call it silence. You've turned this sacred trial into a lie." Vellana's expression didn't change. "We gave your kind a place in something greater. You were lost in war. We offered peace." Ryan stepped forward. "Peace without truth is just control." Vellana raised her hand. "Then let us end this." The priestesses moved forward, but Arya was faster. She launched into motion, disarming one of the guards with a smooth strike. Ryan followed, using his military training to knock another off balance. Darius, though weak, managed to pull a control rod from the wall and swing it toward the third. The fight was short but sharp, and the damage was done. Arya stood over Vellana, breath heavy. "Call off the order." Vellana stared up at her. "You bonded with him. You let the human corrupt your soul." Arya's eyes burned. "He didn't corrupt me. He freed me." Ryan moved to the platform. The upload bar blinked once, then turned green. "Upload complete." Across the temple, in every ritual chamber, training hall, and priestess dorm, the truth began to play. Holograms of the tanks, the dream loops, the copies. The stolen lives, gasps echoed. Whispers turned to cries. Priestesses dropped their weapons. Some began to cry. Others walked away in silence. Vellana watched, her world cracking around her. "They won't follow you." Arya looked toward the ceiling. "No, but they'll stop following you." Later, Ryan stood on the outer steps of the temple, watching the twin moons rise. The trial chambers had gone silent. The rituals paused. The leadership broken. The Zithari Council had stepped down, and a new circle was forming, one that included both female and male voices, including his Darius was resting, safe, and Arya stood beside him. She had removed her ceremonial armor, no longer a commander, just herself. "What now?" Ryan asked quietly. She looked at him. "We rebuild. With truth, not ritual." He nodded. Will they accept it? She smiled faintly. Some will, some won't. But a fire has been lit. It can't be unlit. Ryan looked up at the stars. Then maybe this time, we don't burn alone. For the first time since his capture, Captain Ryan Stone breathed freely. The halls of the Zithari temple, once filled with whispers and judgment, now echoed with honest voices. The light had changed too. Less artificial, more open. Sunlight poured in through windows once sealed shut. The symbols on the walls no longer glowed with power, but with meaning. The ritual had ended, but the struggle was not over. Ryan stood before the Grand Assembly, a new circle formed after the collapse of the old tribunal. No longer ruled by the 5 matriarchs, the Zithari now gathered as equals. Female leaders, priestesses, warriors. And now males. Alien and human both. At the center of the chamber stood Arya, her presence strong but calm. No armor, no titles. Just a voice that people now listened to. Ryan stepped forward, holding a small crystal, Darius's recovered memory fragment. He placed it on the pedestal. This is the truth. Not filtered by tradition or fear, just what happened. A ripple of light projected above them, images of the tanks, the dream loops, the bonded minds. But also the pain behind the ritual, the loss of identity, the misuse of trust. The room stayed silent as the final memory played. Ryan and Arya, hand in hand, standing before the ancient platform, defying the system that tried to break them. The light faded. Ryan looked at the circle. We can't undo what happened, but we can choose what happens next. There were no cheers, no claps, only nods, quiet acceptance. The beginning of something different. Later that night, Ryan walked through the outer gardens where the stars blinked above a sky now clear. The fire pools glowed gently, reflecting the night. Arya joined him, walking silently for a while. I never imagined I'd see this place in peace, she said softly. Ryan glanced at her. And I never imagined I'd survive this long. She smiled, something warm in her eyes. You did more than survive, Ryan. You changed us. He shook his head. I didn't do it alone. They stopped by a carved bench and sat down. Arya looked out across the water. The bonding ritual was supposed to be sacred, a joining of spirit and strength. But somewhere along the way, it became a tool, a machine. Ryan stared at the waters. Surface, you helped bring it back to what it was meant to be. She turned to him. Not just me. You showed us that emotion isn't weakness. That pain can teach. That love, even across species, is possible. Ryan blinked. Is that what this is? Arya smiled. Maybe. They didn't need to say more. The bond between them had already said enough. Days passed. Then a week. The temple reopened, not as a place of trials, but of learning. Zithari citizens began to arrive, curious and cautious. Human envoys, too, invited by the new council. Darius, still recovering, now worked in the memory archives. He'd chosen to stay, not to fight, but to help rebuild. I've seen enough war, he told Ryan. Now I want to build something worth remembering. Villana, once the high priestess, was no longer in power. But she hadn't been punished either. She now lived in silence among the garden halls, offering guidance when asked. And solitude when not. Ryan visited her once. She said only one thing. You made them see. I could not. He left without anger. One evening, as the sky turned violet and twin moons rose again, Arya took Ryan to a forgotten chamber deep in the mountainside. It was carved from crystal and stone, untouched by time. This, she said, is the real ritual chamber, the first one. No machines, no control. Just 2 souls, choosing. In the center was a platform of clear crystal. 2 seats faced each other. Arya stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. We can leave things as they are, or we can finish the bond. The old way, fully, freely. Ryan looked at the platform, then at her. No rules? No rules. He smiled. Then let's make our own. They sat across from each other, hands touching. Light filled the room. No ceremony. No control. Only truth. Somewhere deep in the temple. In a chamber few knew about, a faint screen blinked to life. A new message appeared. Subject 98. Human. Bonded. Status. Undefined. Beginning observation phase 1. A shadow passed across the screen. New voice whispered, "The ritual may be over, but evolution has just begun."